baby.
All right, let's go, baby. We are live, the post-game show. We are here and ready to recap this crazy-ass game. Fellas, real quick, how are we feeling right now? I mean, it's calmed down a little bit, but my Lord, how are we feeling?
That was awesome. That was the ultimate. I can't believe the Atlanta Falcons did that again. Like, I don't get me wrong. I am elated at the Bears come from behind victory there. But I mean, the Falcons now in back-to-back weeks, they had a 99, I think, 0.9% chance at winning last week against the Cowboys. And then we're at 99.6 today against the Bears. And they lost both of those games. And also on the flip side of that, the Bears, the first team in NFL history to win 2 games after trailing by 16, I think, in the fourth quarter. First team in NFL history to do that in the same season, and they did it in the first 3 weeks, baby.
Hey, if that doesn't say something about our mind state right now, going through this season, I don't know what will. Dude, I'm exhausted after that game. Like, the Bears have put us through a whole season worth of emotions in 3 weeks.
Literally, man. Like, it's like last week I said, like, I have a headache after every Bears game. It'd be nice just to have not a headache after every single Bears game. But yeah,
I'm going to start working out because I'm going to have a heart attack one of these weeks.
Honestly, dude. Honestly. It's giving me so much stress that I can already feel, like, my hair falling out, dude.
Yeah, like, it's if you can't tell by my great pyramid up here. This is all the Bears.
Hey, you know what? But if Nick Foles is going to play like that, and we'll talk about that, then maybe he'll start growing back because that was a lot less stressful once he started coming in and shredding the Falcons up.
Yeah, he seemed competent. It's like I felt a calmness wash over me. Not at first. At first, I was very tight. Like I was sitting there clenched. I was especially that when he threw the ball into over triple coverage, it went through the dude's hand. He fumbled it. Anthony Miller tried to pick it up and run with it. I was kind of clenched right then, but past that, it was like, wow, is this what it's like when our offense like works?
And pressing the ball downfield and hitting receivers? What is that?
Yeah, it was an awesome game to watch. And you know, it was funny because like there probably have been different reactions for Nick Foles coming in, but when Nick Foles came in here, we were like going nuts. We were going insane. I could not believe it. I was like, you know, I tweeted, I was like, you know, I really think Nick Foles would shred this defense. And you know, people were liking it, but people were also like commenting. You know, Nick Foles came out the first couple of times and like kind of shit the bed, and people, or not shit the bed, but he made some questionable throws, and people were like, you know, commenting on it. But then we watched him go. I mean, guys, for real, he should have had, honestly, in a good officiated game and a well played game by the Bears, he should have had 5 touchdowns in a quarter and a half. Like let's talk about that. 5 touchdowns in a quarter and a half. That's
why, like, when he came into the game, they instantly were moving the ball. Like, it was an offense you haven't seen, and the running game struggled. So my prediction was absolutely horrible because David Montgomery, I don't even think top 10 yards. So that wasn't even close. But when he came into that game, they sustained drives. And even though they didn't score on those first 2 big time drives by him, like, those were really awesome to see. And he's pushing the ball downfield, and there should have been touchdowns on both of those. So, and that's something, like, I mean, think about that. If they score on those 2 drives, that's now potentially 5 straight drives that he leads touchdowns on in his first appearance as a Chicago Bear. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. Did y'all see the gif of the of like a cartoon guy with a huge dick just moving it with a wheelbarrow, especially for it? It was like Nick Foles after that second touchdown drive. Go back.
Was that a South Park scene or no?
I think it was. Yeah, I think that was from the Randy Marsh.
When he has the.
Oh my god, it was so funny. Well, dude, the fact that we could win this game in spite of despite whatever of the refs just trying to win that game for the Falcons. Like, I hate being that guy, but also like, holy shit, were the refs bad today.
Yeah.
The interception for A-Rob was absolutely egregious. Like, that was worse. I would say that's worse than the Bojack call.
It was.
Well, I mean, we can talk about that. We can talk about that real quick. Like, for example, you know, I honestly think they made the wrong call initially. For example, I think that they should have said, hey, that was an interception, reviewed it. I think it would have stand. But like, they called it a touchdown at that point with the footage that was there. Mm-hmm. It should not have been overturned. I thought that was ridiculous that they overturned.
Very obviously.
And honestly, Ryan, you bring up a great point, to be honest, that I think that should not have been overturned. And like, that was almost as bad as the Eddie Jackson call, because the Eddie Jackson call at least there was question. At this call, there's really no question about it at that point. So honestly, Blake, I mean, what are your thoughts? But that was kind of ridiculous to me. I was, really upset with that one. And I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but Nick Foles came back after all that. But what are your thoughts about that initial call?
Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating, and I think it was a little bit more frustrating just because it seemed like the officiating was really poor, before that. So I think that was kind of like a cherry on top moment where it was like, what is going on? Because every big play that the Bears had that was a potential swing of momentum, they took it back. I mean, you go back to even that roughing the passer they called on Mario Edwards Jr. While it was close, and it was almost helmet to helmet there. But the thing is Matt Ryan is in the process of getting sacked, and it's like, and maybe that is the nature. Already. Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I was confused too, is because the ball was already out. So he becomes a runner at that point, and I get it, and that's the nature of the new NFL where you can't really hit these quarterbacks. But I mean, it's just like that's a come on moment. Like, what do you want him to do? And then it's like you got the Akeem Hicks roughing the passer.
That was horrible.
That was even worse, where it's like, what do you want him to do? Like, he is tackling him already as Matt Ryan's making that throw. Like, what can he possibly do to not get penalized there? So I think that Allen Robinson, coming back full circle here, that Allen Robinson one was kind of a culmination of like just a frustrating game with the officiating as is. So like, it would have been nice just to get one call. You know what I mean? So that's why it was kind of frustrating.
We got to make a game out of not getting holding calls on Khalil Mack. Like if we did, I am scared of saying a drinking game because I feel like we would be just absolutely trashed by the second quarter.
Every time Khalil Mack gets held and they don't call it.
Dude, it's insane. It's like there is some unspoken rule that the refs are going by this year. That's like, you know what, Khalil Mack, we're not going to call it on him.
But Khalil Mack did play like a man possessed today. Him and Akeem Hicks, that was their best performance this season by far.
Akeem Hicks sacked Matt Ryan over the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
He was just like, I don't care that you're here. I'm going to take down your quarterback. Like that was amazing seeing that. The fact that didn't get called for roughing the passer, even though he like grabbed his helmet and shit. And
yeah. Well, that's what I thought too. Like I thought, like when I remember watching that and I turned to my dad and I was like, that one looked like more of a roughing the passer to me than the first two easily. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but I thought like, when you make contact with the head, I feel like officials are throwing that flag almost every time now.
Yeah. It's like, what are we supposed to play flag football out there now? Or are we supposed to play 2-hand touch? Like, oh, you're down. Sorry for getting back here, bud. Like, I don't know that they seem, we talked about it last week. The refs just seem very inconsistent this year. Like even in other games, like they just seem like they just have no clue of what's going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a ref. What do I know?
They do have a tough job, and it's hard on those bang bang plays like that. But it's just like it just felt like the Bears today were on the receiving end of a lot of bad calls, and they didn't really get a lot of they never got the benefit of the doubt on any other calls. Like it's never like there was another call on the other side where the Falcons did something where I was like, okay, the Bears got away with one there. Like it was all just Bears.
And I feel like the Bears were owed multiple calls, and they just weren't given any calls whatsoever. And even the questionable calls that could have went either way were still went the Falcons' way. Mm-hmm. I think that speaks. That's got to speak to this Bears team in general.
There's no quit left in them, man. Like, I was saying that earlier.
My Lord, people, teams would quit after that. What do you do to come back into it? But this Bears team kept fighting, man. They kept fighting, and it was
that's
amazing.
Shades of 2018. Like, because we did the same thing, except in 2018 we lost the games.
Yeah,
like the Giants game where we had to come crawling back.
We
lost that game. The Dolphins game, we lost that game. Like we had all sorts of these games, and we lost them in 2018. And I'm not. Look, I don't want to build up hype. I'm very in the lane of low expectations, high yield compared to your expectations. But I don't know, man. Like they don't have any quit left in them, and it kind of reminds me of 2018 in a really good way, especially since we're winning and we're 3-0. Like, how can you be mad at 3-0? There's a lot of there's teams that are 0-3 right now. Like the Falcons are probably like fucking throw the season away. Dan Quinn is probably packing up tonight. Either that or crying into his pillow. Trubisky's crying into his pillow, actually.
Not even just Dan Quinn. Like the Falcons need to fire everybody because
just
Dirk Cutter, their offensive play caller. So what? I think before the Bears scored those last
the second to last,
it was 16 to 26 or whatever. 16 to 26. The Falcons are up 10, and what it was like within like the last 10 minutes on the Falcons, like last two drives, I'm pretty sure they called 5 of 6 plays. They called 5 passes. They were up by 10 points at one time. And then on that last drive, they called 3 straight passes when they're up 3 points.
And
Like,
they had been
didn't
running the
even
ball
try.
on us.
Yeah, and like Ryan and you talked about it. You were worried about Todd Gurley today, and he looked like a rejuvenated Todd Gurley. And they didn't give him the ball one time in that scenario.
Yeah, and
one
Hill.
time.
Who's Hill? Who's the
Yeah,
running back
Brian Hill. Like they were running the ball successfully.
He's third string running back. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked great today. Like he looked like a fucking man out there. And like I don't know the offensive coordinator / play caller for the Falcons must have had like a good and bad demon mixed up on his shoulders, and he was listening to the wrong one because they just gave that game to us on a silver platter, pretty much. I mean, Nick Foles, I don't want to discredit Nick Foles because Nick Foles came in and laid his fucking schlong out on the table and was like, this is my team and my game now. But holy shit, dude. Like, that was just – it was beautiful to watch as a Bears fan. It was beautiful to watch.
Let's talk about it, though. Blake, going right to you. The defense, man. Like, are you worried about this team moving forward? Because it looks like they can play when they want to, but when it's like not, I don't know. They just didn't look like they could really shut down Matt Ryan until the end of the game. What do you think about this defense overall? Because there's a lot of issues with it all day today.
Well, I think the most worrisome part of it, like I thought the secondary played a good game. I thought the pass rush did a nice job of getting to Matt Ryan for the most part. But that interior, man, that was a struggle today. And we saw that against the Lions where they struggled heavily against Adrian Peterson. And I'm not going to lie, the inside linebackers, Roquan and Danny Trevathan, had rough games today. Now, this is a reoccurring thing for Danny Trevathan. We talked a lot about it on the pregame show where he just looks a step slower. And then even today, I thought Roquan didn't have the best game. I thought they really struggled getting off blocks today. And that part of that is missing Eddie Goldman and having a big guy in the middle to eat up blocks, because having a guy like Eddie Goldman, it stops those guards and those centers or whoever you need to get up to that second level. It slows them down, making the job for the linebackers way easier to read and react.
We have no interior pressure.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Hicks, man. Like,
exactly. And it's tough for linebackers when the guys on the offensive line are getting up to that second level real fast. And DK Metcalf just scored a touchdown to take the lead for the Seahawks with a minute and 40 left.
Russell Wilson.
Sorry, I'm watching that live here. But
hey, quick shout out to James Jones, who said the Bears were going to lose 40-20. Yeah. And I called him out for it. He liked my tweet, so at least he's eating his words on that. So shout out James Jones.
Dude, he has Packer brain.
He does have Packer brain, just like a lot of Bears guys have Bears.
He's
brain.
on that fuck you tour. He's on that fuck you tour with Aaron Rodgers, so he's ready to go.
I'm on a year-round fuck Aaron Rodgers tour.
I think we're all on fuck Aaron Rodgers tour. All right, so
I'm afraid of him. I wouldn't say it to his face though. I'm afraid of him.
All right, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, guys, Nick Foles came in, commanded this offense. Is Trubisky time over in Chicago as Nick Foles makes this team hella dangerous moving forward?
It's got to be, right? You can't make that switch and see that performance and be like, you know what? Let's give Mitch another chance. No, Mitch is going to be the backup for when Foles ends up getting hurt at some point and has to sit for a week, or if we make the playoffs and we want him fresh for the game. Like, it's got to be Nick going forward. You can't come in and let that happen, like see that performance and be like, yeah, let's do that. But I can totally see why today at the presser he was like, we haven't made that decision yet. It's obvious that Foles is going to start, but they want to make the Colts prepare for either quarterback. Like, I totally get that, but
they're going to be prepping for Foles. I mean, there's no way that they can start Trubisky. I mean, you pull him after a horrible performance, and then Nick Foles comes in and he leads you on almost 5 touchdown drives. I know he only threw 3, but those other 2 drives, they matter, and that happened.
They were effectively touchdowns without the points.
They were 100% touchdowns. I mean, we can talk about that real quick. I know Trubisky truthers are going to find any way to back Trubisky, but at the end of the day, a decent quarterback came into the game and shredded this defense like it should have been done at the beginning of the game. So if you put anybody on this offense against this defense who is so injured, you see what can happen. Nick Foles, a decent quarterback, came into this game and he did what a decent quarterback should do against a defense like this.
That's what we've always said we needed to.
And that's all we need. We have been saying it on this podcast, on the How's Hall Brawl, since its beginning. We need a decent quarterback, and Nick Foles presents that for the Bears, and the Bears will be in every single game they play as long as Chuck Pagano and the defense figures out Snacks Harris needs to come into Chicago. Yes. I mean,
Snacks.
Someone in the
middle.
middle.
A Snacks jersey. If he signs with the Bears, I'm buying a Snacks jersey like that.
Yeah, but Nick Foles.
Can we talk about something though?
Well, we'll talk about the defense. You want to talk about the defense?
Well, no. This is Nick. Just
Okay,
Nick Foles, real quick. Nick Foles came in and had a hell of a fourth quarter, 3 touchdowns. And look, I want him to be the starter next week, but let's not forget Mitch had this game week 1, and it just, dude, Bears Twitter is like, I had to put my phone down today. It was too much today.
Ryan,
Like,
I want to counter that though. I want to counter your take because I've been ready for this. So I know Mitch Trubisky came back against the Lions and he had a great fourth quarter. It was fantastic. But we're at the point now where we've seen Mitch Trubisky for 3.5 years, and we know how he's going to do. Like, he had a great fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And you know what? In 2 weeks from now, he'll have a great second quarter. He'll have a great third quarter. But he's never going to put it together. Nick Foles is someone who can drive the ball consistently down the field. He might throw a pick here and there. He might get sacked. He takes risks.
YOLO Nick was out today at one point, but it worked out.
But Nick Foles is someone who can consistently – he can put 4 quarters of football together. Mitch Trubisky cannot. And
Blake put it well on Twitter.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Blake put it well on Twitter because he was like, at what point do we quit saying he's got to make those throws until we realize that he just can't?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow.
I mean, how bad was the deep ball tonight? I mean,
oh my God, dude.
My God.
I mean, the thing is in the NFL too is like you don't get many chances to have a guy that wide open downfield.
Yeah.
So you have to connect on him. And the thing with Mitch Trubisky is that he flat out hasn't. So that's why I said that, because it's like, this is a consistent thing. This is not like it's something new. Like, it should be like, oh, wow, he made the throw. Not like, oh, wow, he's got to make that throw. You know what I mean? Because he can't do it. Yeah. He just can't do it. And it was holding the offense back. And even if Nick Foles isn't the most perfect quarterback, he can make that throw more often than Mitch Trubisky does. And that gives you a chance to have a big explosive offense.
That floater at the end was
Nick
nice.
Foles made that play without even following through all the way. He made a perfect throw without even following through. And that just shows you the difference between a decent quarterback and a quarterback who's just unfortunately not there. And guys, we tried to support Trubisky the whole way. They might 25% they start Trubisky next week. And if they start Trubisky next week, he's just going to be benched again.
They can't do it.
There's no way they can do it. Like, at the end of the day, guys, Trubisky time in Chicago is coming to an end. And we're going to see a decent offense with a really good defense. And this is good. I'm a full believer that this is going to be an insanely deadly team moving forward, especially if Nick Foles is able to consistently move the ball. He sees things that Mitch doesn't. Now, obviously, Nick made some really inaccurate throws on the goal line to Jimmy Graham, or a couple throws in the beginning, but that's just give him a full week
and he won the goddamn game.
But give him a full week of practice, and it's going to be a different team. I fully believe this is going to be a different team. Blake, how are you feeling about this?
Well, before we move on to defensive side of the ball and everything, I want to talk about Austin's boy, Jimmy Graham, because Jimmy Graham had himself a day today, baby. That was a day. Like, we haven't seen production like that out of the tight end position since early on in that 2018 season with Trey Burton.
He can stay on my field.
And
I get him off my field this morning. He can stay on the field.
I mean, that he gives them an awesome option inside the red zone. I mean, that's already his 3rd touchdown on the year inside the red zone. It's added another dimension to their offense, because how many times last year, and granted, they still have work to do this year, but how many times do they get close and then we're settling for field goals? And that's another tweet I had too. It's like, for the Bears to be a serious contender, they have to turn these field goals into touchdowns. And Jimmy Graham is one of those guys that's showing that he can do that for this team when they get close, because he's a jump ball guy. He's going to go up and get it. And I mean, he performed. I mean, there's not a whole lot to hate on Jimmy Graham today, I think, even though, he is a little bit older, a little bit slower. He made huge plays for this team today, especially that floater that somehow got over those 3 defenders. And I know he fumbled at the end there, but those are some clutch plays from Jimmy Graham.
That was the football god saying, okay, you know what? Here you go. It's the Falcons.
Yeah.
That was like karma. The refs had built us up a real nice a savings account of karma.
For real.
And we cashed it in right there.
Cashed it all in that last Bears 10 minutes.
Though. Was that not the most Bears thing ever? To try to pick it up, run with it, and fumble it again.
Yeah. Oh my God! If the Falcons would have recovered that, I don't know if the Bears win that game then, because I think how much time was left in that when that happened? It was pretty late, wasn't it? Was that their first touchdown drive on the comeback?
Yeah, that was the first touchdown drive. I think that was a pass to Jimmy Graham.
One thing that really sucks that came out of this game, though, is Tariq Cohen, man. Yeah. Tariq Cohen probably going to be out for the rest of the season. That sucks. That sucks a whole lot. Like,
yeah, and we love him. You know, Chicago loves him. He'll be back better than ever. But
at least he
definitely
got that
very
extension, get some security here.
Yeah,
Because that sucks. And, that's a dimension that the Bears are going to have to figure out in this offense now. And whether they go out and they try and find a guy that can catch out of the backfield a little bit more, that might be something they have to look into. But, the running back depth was a concern. I mean, when David Montgomery got hurt in the beginning and we weren't sure if he was going to be ready for week 1, running back depth was a concern. And now you lose Tariq Cohen, you lose a dimension of that offense. So they're going to have to figure something out here to replace him. Obviously, you can't really replace the full role he has on the team, but at least find somebody that can fill that role, I think.
Yeah, hey, I think it's Artavis Pierce season. We might be seeing Ryan Nall. So we'll see who they bring in. There's actually
Ryan Nall season.
There's options on the free agency too. I'd actually like them to explore maybe Spencer Ware to bring in as a free agent, maybe on a vet minimum deal. I think
the Falcons, the precedent they have set for themselves after the Super Bowl, like Rob, like the precedent they've set for themselves after that Super Bowl is just embarrassing, dude. Like, I feel bad for, like, I don't even want to rub it in Falcons fans' face. I want to, like, give them a hug and buy them a beer,
Like that, like, at this point in time, like, in the last 5 years, is it worse to be a Falcons fan or worse to be a Lions fan? I mean, the Falcons have some explosion and some entertaining games here and there, but I mean, these are like
at least I made losses. A Super Bowl though,
like soul-crushing losses.
Yeah,
Detroit fans. I mean, being a Lions fan is.
Wait, the Lions
have delusion
today, though. Yeah,
that's true. They did win today, but
do you guys think Jimmy can do this consistently, Dante?
Yes.
I hope so. Yes. I hope so. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be catching 60 yards and 2 touchdowns every week, but
dominant in the red zone like he always is.
Yeah, I mean, he's a weapon down there. Like, doesn't have to have explosive games like that, but if
especially
he's
with Nick
playing
Foles,
that role,
loves throwing to those tight ends. Nick Foles loves throwing to the tight ends, and Nick Foles is going to be our quarterback. We won today. We're
we want to defense. We want to get on the D real quick.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it real quick before we get into Staley's recap. Guys, I mean, Matt Ryan kind of shredded them up for a good 3/4 of that game. How worried are you about Chuck Pagano's scheme, Chuck Pagano's defense? What do you guys think? It is somewhat worrisome.
Yeah, and the thing is like I mentioned earlier, I think the runs up the middle right now is what's making me a little bit worried. I think this secondary and this pass rush has the ability to make plays, but you don't want to be giving up rushing yards, especially with the way this defense has been the past couple of years. This has been one of the best run defense maybe in the entire league. And right now they're just not looking like that same unit. So I think, Austin, you said it. I think Snacks Harrison, if they can get him in for a visit, I think that would be a game-changing pickup potentially for this team, because that's a guy that was one of the better nose tackles in the league. And without Eddie Goldman this year, they're sorely missing him. So I think a guy like Snacks Harrison can really come in and be a guy that can eat up those gaps. And that might make life a lot easier for Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith. You may see Danny Trevathan bounce back after that. So I'm not completely out on Chuck Pagano as of yet, but like, man, I mean,
I'm willing to admit it's not great this year.
And to be fair, the Bears have had a few plays though that have been like those branded Bears plays from the last couple of years, like that strip sack early in the game, and it didn't go their way because they called the roughing the passer. But then you go back to even last week where Eddie Jackson had that pick 6. Like, that's the signature Bears plays that we've seen this defense make. And those plays are happening here and there, but they're just they're not counting right now. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to make those plays more consistently, and you got to make them count. And I think that'll kind of heal the Chuck Pagano hate that's going on right now, but they still got a lot to prove. Like,
what about this, guys? How much does a quarterback who can move the football impact the defense? And I mean, we were talking about this today after the game. It almost looked as if a quarterback came in who could move the football consistently, and the defense felt like they had something to play for again. I mean, how much does that impact the psyche of the defense, right?
Like, we've always talked about that. Like, in 2018, that's why we were so dominant. Like, is the offense would do just a little bit, and like then the defense, granted 2018 we had an unreal turnover season, but that's always been the formula. We talked about it week 1, we talked about it week 2. As soon as the offense started doing anything, the defense is like, okay, now maybe they have our back just a little bit. Who would want to come back out on the field if your offense doesn't do anything and you're an elite defense?
Yeah, and that's the thing about football too, and this probably goes for all sports, but good play is infectious. Playmaking is infectious, like it's a momentum swing. It's a huge play. That's what I'm saying. And it gets guys amped up, and it makes other people want to make plays. So when you're making plays, it affects the whole team. And the NFL and football is such a momentum-driven sport. So when you're making those big plays, it's just going to lead to more big plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And just honestly, overall, the defense played all right. I mean, they stopped. Here's the good part.
The rush was there.
Four rush was there. They stepped up when they had to. Unlike the previous two games, they allowed drives at the end of the game and almost gave up, game-winning scores. This time they played essentially dominant. And, Sean Gibson with the last interception to seal the game. Offensive line, looked not great to start the game, but at the end they dominated. David Montgomery looked great. Cordero Patterson looked great. They're going to have to continue to do that with Tariq Cohen out now. Lots of positives from this game, guys. How are we feeling about moving forward with Nick Foles? Before we get into Staley's recap, with Nick Foles moving forward, what are the expectations for this team? Blake, I'll start with you.
I'm excited simply off the fact of what we just talked about, that good football is infectious. And I think if this team sees a quarterback that's a leader and that's going to make the right plays and simply just make the right decision. Like we talked about it already, like average quarterback play. Like if Nick Foles can deliver like he did today, that's going to make everybody else better and the defense too, because they know they got a guy that can sustain a drive and move the football for them. So I'm really excited to see a full week as Nick Foles as the starter, taking all the reps. And then you have a big game against Indianapolis and a full stretch here for him to show what he's got and show that he's the guy, because he's the guy now. I mean, he's the starter. There's no way that he's not going to be. And we got a full season of Nick Foles ahead of us, and I'm excited. I'm glad that Nagy had the balls to make the move, because Trubisky just wasn't it today, and he hasn't been. And Nick Foles played the part. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. I think this gives the Bears a better chance to contend for a playoff spot in the division. So
that's a big step
amped.
forward for Nagy to actually make the move.
I mean,
we always are like, he's not going to do it. Like, pace his pride is too much in the way. I'm glad that he made the decision as the head coach and took authority to say, hey, let's throw him in. Because I know that Ryan Pace drafted him. Ryan Pace's job is riding a little bit on the Bears' success and Mitch Trubisky's success. So I know that Ryan Pace had a big reason for, like, I saw, who was it, Earl Bennett today on Twitter, that was like, you don't it was basically about them having doubt in Trubisky from the start. Did y'all see that tweet? Like, you don't shit, let me look it up.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when Rob Schmitz was talking about the season, like, if you have doubt in Trubisky already, just start Foles.
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but like,
yep.
If you already have doubt, then just start Foles. There's no point. Trubisky's not going to be your quarterback after this year. So, at the end of the day, it's just, go ahead.
And this is what the Earl Bennett tweet. Did you find it, Ryan?
Yeah,
go
ahead.
Read it? Yeah. No, if you have it, you can read it.
Okay. There is no way you can tell me a QB that's 2-0 would be benched the third game if you didn't already have belief in him from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
very true. Now, Earl Bennett is a noted, like, very notable Trubisky hater. But at this point, like, going by the results of the Trubisky era, I mean, he has a winning record as a starter, but how much of that is actually attributed to him? I don't think a whole lot of it is.
And how about this? We watched Nick Foles come off the bench, even after the interception, after the overturned ball, and he's talking to his receivers, he's talking to the running backs. I understand, Mitch Trubisky, he's still learning and everything. Nick Foles is someone who he's gonna go out, have a bad drive. He's gonna come back, learn from that drive, and talk to his receivers, talk to his running backs, and the next drive will be better. Like, he is someone who I just think he is going to be able to put really awesome quarters together, really great stretches together. And he is someone who learns from the game. He understands defenses and he's able to make better reads.
He's been benched before. He's been through what Trubisky's been through before, and he's made a better quarterback because of it. He even said that in his press.
Guys, we cannot forget he is a Super Bowl MVP. We just simply, I understand he has not had great regular seasons, but we cannot forget the fact that he is a Super Bowl MVP and he has had a 27-2 season. We just can't forget that. And I understand it wasn't the quarterback everybody wanted, but at this point, he is someone who has come in and has made a huge difference already on this team. He has changed the culture, and he is a leader that simply the Bears need right now. This is a year that the Bears can really, with the NFC, I understand the NFC is going to be tough, The Seahawks are going to be tough, the Packers and all those teams. However, this is a year with all the playoff teams that can make it. The Bears can make the playoffs and make a push. So
this is a decent quarterback. Like we already said it, but this is not the answer for the future. Like we still have work to do. And that is even worse because we can all go back to it every single week. Somebody's going to bring it up. Cam Newton went to the Patriots for a pack of gum and 2 potato chips, and we could have had that.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but
We could have had that. But
Hey.
that's the story of the fucking Bears at this point from 2017 on. So
But it
we'll have
looks
to go
like
down that rabbit hole.
our era is over in Chicago, but we'll see as this goes forward. A tough game for Trubisky, and ultimately, I think Foles will have what it takes, and he's going to make this team a dangerous team. I'm surprised to see how the games go against the Colts and the Bucs next 2 games. 2 really good teams, so we'll see how that goes.
We're not going to have Cohen, which hurts. Not having Cohen hurts, and I wish him a great recovery. I'm glad that he got that contract, but that's going to hurt, dude.
Yeah. And he'll be back, and hopefully we, maybe bring in someone like Spencer Ware to fill that role. But speedy recovery, Chicago loves you. Be back better than ever. Ryan, let's get into it. Staley's recap with the afternoon games. How are we looking?
All right, so the record right now are the Seahawks winning? What's the score right now? Did they win?
AJ, what's the score of the Seahawks game?
Seahawks won 38.
Seahawks won.
Okay, so with that, let me type that into the spreadsheet real quick. Seahawks win. Okay, so with that, Staley's 9-5 on the day so far.
Okay.
And Surefire selections are 4-1. The only one that lost was the Washington at the Browns. I don't know why.
Nope, didn't Cardinals Lions?
Yeah, Cardinals
Didn't you have,
lost.
so I think
Cardinals
there was 2
Lions
L's.
tied.
Nope, the Lions won.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Wait, that wasn't a Surefire. I don't think.
wasn't it? I thought it was. I wrote it down. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Hold on. I got it right here. What's week 3?
Our social guy says he thinks Nick's a system QB. He fits that system like a glass slipper, and that's fine. That's fine, baby.
That's all we
I mean,
need.
he can be a system QB, but hey, you know what? If he fits, that's fine. We'll take that all day. As long as you're winning games like that, I'm really amped to see this offense with a guy that's just composed,
Do it.
is smart. Like he can read a defense. I mean, Mitch Trubisky couldn't read a defense.
Yeah.
So like you got a competent quarterback in here right now that knows Matt Nagy's familiar with the system. I mean, I can't see the Bears getting worse with Nick Foles as the season goes on. I just can't.
I agree.
Blake, you're right. That was a.
It was
That was a
okay.
triple. Did we have 6 of them?
We did have 6, so that's
Okay,
4
I
and
just
2.
didn't have that one highlighted
4
in
and
red.
2
It's
on the
4 and
day?
2 this week, and then 9-5 overall.
Okay.
All right.
So
But,
Staley's still holding on.
dude, I made a realization today. I forgot to change my script that gathers stats from Pro Football Reference to not include ties. So
Okay.
So I don't know how much that affected the training of the whole model, but you can't really predict a tie. Like,
Yeah,
that's
ties.
pretty impossible. So I'm not gonna bang my head against the wall about that. But
All right.
yeah, he's doing all right. It's about the same as week 1 right now because week 1 he went 11-5, 4-2. So if the Packers win tonight and the Ravens win tomorrow, it'll be on par with week 1.
And that's still a winning record, so we're pretty good to go.
Either way, Staley's got a winning record. I mean, that's baseline. I guess 8-8 is the baseline because you have a 50% chance to get the right
Yeah.
answer. I guess excluding ties. So, I theoretically you should always have 50%. So anything over 50 in my mind is an improvement.
Yeah.
Be it luck, be it actual predictions, whatever. I'll take it. Go Staley. Staley knew. Staley tried to say that the Falcons were going to win, but Staley
Staley didn't know how bad the Falcons were.
Staley cannot
It
account.
didn't account for the
Falcons.
epic meltdowns.
Yeah, do I have to change the algorithm for that? Like, do I need to put a little Falcons check in there? If
Really
Atlanta
bad.
Falcons take away a 99.6% chance to win.
that blows my
graphs?
mind. That blows my mind. Like, I wonder what that is combined. Like, what are the percent chances for a team to blow that kind of lead? I don't know. I don't do math very well in probability.
gotta
but
be-
like,
I think it was 0.04.
Yeah, it's got to be sub 1%.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But all right, so that's a post game show. Let's go,
Yeah.
baby.
Absolutely. And you guys make sure we're going to have this up on our, if you missed it, we're going to have it up on our platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. Make sure you guys follow us, leave us a comment. We'll really appreciate it. That was our live show today. Thank you for tuning in. 10 a.m. Central pregame show. We'll be back next Sunday, 10 a.m. With the pregame show. We'll be back Thursday with our weekly podcast, as always, and, of course, our postgame shows after the afternoon game. For then, guys, thank you for tuning in. The Bears are 3-0. We're heading into the week against the Colts, undefeated. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. Bear down, go Bears, and we'll catch you guys on Thursday.
3-0, baby.
Hey!